Dogs go wolf, cats go meow, birds go tweet. But what does a fox say?
Welcome back to Kirill Smashes Acting. I'm Kirill, actor, educator, cat enthusiast. Now I know we haven't had videos in a bit and it has been a bit slow, but last semester was a huge transition for my family. As you could tell, I'm in a new space. I know it's not set up behind me, but I promise it will be soon. This video that you're about to see was actually created as an educational video for some of my students in the prior semester. It got such a great response that I wanted to share it with all of you. We're going to be covering vocal anatomy, and if you want some more in-depth information, let me know down below in the comments. For now, enjoy. So today we're going to start with vocal anatomy. Now, you're going to ask yourself, why is this knowledge important? Understanding your anatomy is the first step to both protecting your instrument and learning what it is that you are actually capable of. It's our job to take care of our voice when we act, when we sing, hell, even when we talk in day-to-day life. But we can't do that unless we really have an understanding of what our instrument is. Having a constantly tired, scratchy, or strained voice can actually lead to long-term issues that could derail your career, or they can make the quality of your actual personal life lower. So why wouldn't you want to take care of this instrument? Remember, we're going to be looking at this from an actor's point of view. Now, I'm not a doctor, and this is not medical advice. This is a lesson designed to empower you as a performer. Through knowledge and understanding of what your instrument actually is, how it's constructed, and what it does, I want to give you power to control your performances and give you power to have a healthier, happier life with your voice. So let's hit it. Let's start by taking a look at our mouth. First we see the lips. After the lips, they pass to the teeth, the tongue, and these are what we call your articulators. These are the parts of your body that we adjust when we have to talk and pronounce words in different ways. This is the part of your vocal anatomy that you activate when you work on your tongue twisters or when you stretch out your mouth. They help you to enunciate. Now up above your tongue, right about here, you're going to have your hard and then your soft palate. Let's feel for it together. Take your tongue and reach to the roof of your mouth, right behind the teeth. Now drag your tongue back along the hard palate and feel all of the ridges all the way back into your mouth until you start to feel the soft part in the back of your mouth. That is your soft palate. So you have the teeth, the hard palate, which is all those ridges, and then the soft palate. The soft palate can rise and fall and has some really important jobs. It can help you close off your nasal cavity. That way, when you're drinking water, the water goes down into the appropriate place. Or if you only want to breathe in through the mouth, the soft palate is one of the things that helps close the pathway into the nose and the nasal cavity. The best way to feel how the soft palate really works is to open your mouth and take a great big yawn. So let's do it together. First, just take a nice big yawn and feel the space in the back of the mouth opening up. That's your soft palate, amongst other things, creating that space. Now let's think about the different shapes the soft palate can make. I want you to imagine yawning and creating a vertical shape with your mouth. So let's do a vertical yawn together. Maybe a little bit bigger. Do it on your own. Nice and big. And let it out. And make sure the air is nice and flowing. There's no restriction in the throat. Now let's try a horizontal yawn. So you're thinking of making a horizontal shape with your mouth, like this. So try it again. Try it on your own. Make a nice big horizontal mouth. How did that feel different, if at all? Alright, you kind of have an idea of what happens in the mouth. Now let's look above the mouth. In this version, you're breathing in through your nose, and you're breathing into what's called a nasal cavity. Now look how far back the nasal cavity actually goes. And look how large the nasal cavity is. Having an understanding that the voice can resonate not just in the mouth, but can also resonate in the nasal cavity and even some of your sinuses is really important information, which we'll talk a lot more about as we get into vocal production. But just know that all the space in these cavities are a great place for sound to be created and to resonate. Alright, so you're starting to understand the nose and the nasal cavity, as well as the mouth and the mouth cavity, all the way to the soft palate. So now let's move down the back of the throat to where you have your vocal folds. Most of you have probably heard this as vocal cords, but once you understand what the anatomy actually looks like, how the vocal folds work, you'll see why vocal folds is actually just a little bit more accurate. Before we go into a deep dive of the vocal folds, I want you to know where they are in your body. The vocal folds sit right here at the top of your trachea. The organ that holds them is called the larynx, and it holds several smaller organs that are in charge of how much air you take in, how much air comes out, how big or small the opening is, and so on. But the vocal folds themselves sit right at the top of the trachea, and the trachea is also known as the windpipe. You probably have an idea inherently of what a windpipe is, but I want you to think about it as the passageway where air goes in and then comes back up. The other big pipe in your throat is called the esophagus. The esophagus is where you swallow water and food, all those things you really don't want going down your trachea, for obvious reasons. But little do most people know that the vocal folds are also part of the mechanism that keeps you from breathing in food and water, so it keeps us safe. So over here, we're going to take a bird's eye view of the vocal fold. When you are swallowing, the vocal folds come together and shut. When you're making sounds, these vocal folds relax or tighten, depending on what vibration you want, and they vibrate at our desired pitch. So when you're talking, air goes out through the windpipes and vibrates over the vocal folds. As you take big breaths in, they open up and allow the air to come into the body. Now, if we go beneath your trachea, you'll find your lungs and your diaphragm. These are the organs that are in charge of your breathing. Most of the time, you don't even think about your breathing. But when we're performing, we have to have an understanding of how our respiratory system works, so we can both exercise it and control it when we need to. The diaphragm is the muscle that divides the lung cavity from the rest of your body, obviously. But what it does is give us the ability to breathe. When we take a deep breath in, the diaphragm drops down like a net. This allows our lungs to fill up with air, and then when you exhale, that diaphragm rises up, causing the lungs to contract, and that pushes the air out of your body. The muscles surrounding the core of your body, such as your abs, or even the muscles in between your ribs, these are the support muscles in the process of breathing, but your diaphragm is what we call the primary mover. As actors or singers, we have the challenge of not being able to look at our instrument. That also means that we can't carry our instrument around or separate ourselves from the instrument. Because of that, we have a responsibility to take care of our instrument every day of our lives. Improper use of our instrument can lead to losing your vocal quality, sometimes temporarily, sometimes permanently. It could lead to injuries such as nodes or polyps, which we will talk more about later. And just as importantly, it could lead you to not be ready for an opportunity. You might lose a job, or you might not book a job simply because your voice is in the process of healing and doesn't sound the way the casting director pictures this character. In the end, this is still a very brief overview of anatomy. We'll learn more as the lessons come along. I hope you enjoyed that video. Leave a comment, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and until next time, say goodnight, Poofy. Good night, Poofy.